I am Alexander Rabitsky, and I will be your keeper of arcane lore for the evening. You may simply just call me the Keeper. After an extensive amount of technical difficulties here on the live streaming side, we are officially live and ready to go. So, if this is your first time joining us, why? Go back and watch the other episodes. You're not going to understand anything at all. But regardless, we are in the middle of our annual Camp Streamix live streaming event where Team Annihilation, hosted by yours truly, Team Fallen, and Team Murder all compete in fun ways, nothing mean-spirited, for points for the superiority of owning the stream stick by the end of the year. So if you'd like to support Team Annihilation, please donate bits, or if you can't donate bits during the stream, go check out all of our social media for more information on donating to other sources. We have a coffee, check our Twitter, it's all over there, and remember to go check out the other streams as well, because they deserve just as much love as my own stream does. On that note, welcome, one and all, to episode 4 of our 9-week Call of Cthulhu game, Path of Perdition. I am joined, of course, as always, by my friends from Internet Remix. We, of course, have Atwis.
Hello, everyone.
We have Jordan, otherwise known as Upgraded Moon. Why are you drinking water? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Stay hydrated, y'all.
Yeah, okay. We have Bro Dingles.
You got me also drinking water.
God damn it.
I
And
was
last,
like, maybe I can take a sip in.
and last, but certainly not least, we have the one and only Kristen Trzynski.
I've never drank a glass of water in my life.
It's true. She's just well, the reason why she's so small is because she's dehydrated.
Is that why you're so frail? Your body just hasn't had a touch of hydration.
Okay, when you guys were kids, did you have those little pills that you like threw in glasses of water and they expanded into like sponge dinosaurs and shit?
Yeah.
That's
I
Kristen.
had one of those.
That's
yeah,
Kristen.
It was fucking awesome.
That's
I
Kristen.
ate one of those once.
Anyway, when we last left off with the, as they've been called, the 1920s disaster gang, the group was face to face with a German man by the name of Peter Haas, seemingly a familiar acquaintance of Mason, Jackson, Sybil, and Kitts, who was holding them at gunpoint after a clusterfuck. We'll call it a clusterfuck. We'll call a spade, a clusterfuck encounter on the train. They managed to abate the tensions and convince Peter to converse with them. And during the conversation, Peter revealed a few things about how this whole thing was set up. Essentially, Peter owing money to a bunch of people, namely Vito Castiglione, among others, was aware somehow that Kit, Mason, and Sybil were going to be on this very train on this very day at this specific time, and knew that they'd be traveling with some gold, some wealth acquired from their Peruvian expedition. So guided an attempt to rob them. However, things went astray when Vito made an insult towards a woman that Peter is very fond of, a thinly veiled threat that he may have harmed her or touched her in some way. And the reason why Vito was killed was because Peter snapped and shot him, and also killed his bodyguard Bosco and dumped the body off the train before anyone could realize. After conversing and also convincing Peter to let go of an artifact he had taken from Peru, the investigators decided to let Peter get away with it, to jump the train with some money that they gave him, and they parted on amicable terms. Even though he seemed a little insane, not as well held together, but all things considered, he thanked them, and he disembarked, leaving the rest of the group and Jackson Elias to sit in the dining car of the California Limited, still hours away from Albuquerque, with an exciting start to their morning, and enjoying a pleasant late morning bit of drinking and conversation before the rest of their day begins. And that is where we left off. So I'm going to start off, right off the bat, Sunil. You are sitting in your cabin.
What time of day is it right now?
You don't know. You're not sure.
Oh,
You can hear the tracks moving, and you think there's light coming in from your window. But you're not sure. You actually don't remember how long you've been sitting in your cabin for. But sure enough, you're here. You can look around. It is your cabin. But outside the window, it is presumably bright outside. There is light, but it is very hazy outside the window. You can hear the train moving, sure enough, along the tracks. But there's something not right at the moment. And it takes you a moment to process that everything around you is in black and white. The world is devoid of color. You notice this. Strangely, it does not strike you as too concerning, but you certainly notice it as different. And you are alone. Everything feels bizarre.
Sunil is. He's gonna stand up. There's no point in checking the window because everything is all. Or I'm assuming that he's already kind of like looked out at.
Yeah, it's just a simple glance out the window, and it's just a stark, foggy white void.
Okay. He's gonna try to open the door that leads out of the cabin.
The door slides open into the corridor of your sleeper car. Stepping outside. Looking to the left, looking to the right. You see other cabins here in the car. Outside the windows of the cabin hallway, it's also a foggy white void. All the other sleeper car cabin doors are open.
He continues walking to the left.
Continue walking over to the left, which goes towards the front of the train. And as you pass by all of these individual cabins, the insides are empty. You know, you see the berths, but there's no luggage, no passengers. Again, a noticeably concerning situation, but you don't feel too worried. Weirdly enough.
I, the player, am very worried.
There's something somewhat placid about everything around you. But you keep moving to the left. Eventually you come to the door that bridges the next car up ahead. You can see kind of into the next car. Do you open the door?
I don't like this music. He opens the door.
Cool. You slide the door open. You see another sleeper car stretching up in front of you.
How is the train constructed? Is this like an open thing or?
What do you mean, like when it is the bridge between each platform open? Yes, they are. So like standing in the quote unquote empty open air, it's like you're in a very dense fog. You can kind of loosely make out the tracks that the train is running along beneath you, and maybe ground, but you're not sure. It's hard to see, but it's very foggy.
Okay. He proceeds into the next car.
You continue walking forward through this next sleeper car, passing by once again various rows of open, empty sleeper cabins, until you get to the end of this car too.
And okay. That He proceeds to the next car.
Yep. You open the door. Another sleeper car stretches out in front of you.
Has there been like any? Is it very clearly like different cars or?
They all look uniformly the same. There's no distinguishing marks. I mean, you can look behind you and see that you've walked from a sleeper car into another sleeper car. But you don't see any distinguishing marks or differences between any of these sleeper cars.
He proceeds to the next car.
You open the door, it's another sleeper car. You can hear the train whistling off towards the front of the engine, but it sounds so far away. Do you keep moving? He continues. You walk forward to the end of this car. You open the door. Another sleeper car. More sleeper cars than the California Limited certainly has. You continue forward. Another sleeper car. You realize that you're not compelling your own self to move anymore. You're just moving. You come to the end of the car. You open the door. Another sleeper car. You walk forward. You stop. Something catches the corner of your eye in one of the empty cabins. You turn. There's nothing there. At least you thought there was. Or maybe there's something is there, but you just can't see it anymore. You keep walking forward. You come to the end of this car. You open the door. No longer another sleeping car. You see instead a long, dark hallway stretching out in front of you.
Like this. Like this. Fuck. He looks behind him.
There's a long, dark hallway behind you. You're no longer in a train.
He continues walking forward.
You continue walking forward. A long, dark, nondescript hallway rendered in monochromatic vision. Black walls, black floor. Everything has a gray, filtery haze to it. But you continue walking forward. Until eventually the hallway stops and there turns to a corner. A single 90-degree bend off to the right. Looking down that corridor, the hallway stretches on continuously. But you think you can see an endpoint, but it is quite far ahead.
He continues walking.
You continue walking forward down this hallway. And you can see a definitive end to it. There is a door at the very far end of this. A nondescript black door. But there's something on the door. You can't quite make out from the distance, but you continue to walk forward. There are 3 numbers plated onto the door. 4, 1, 0. You approach the door. The door has no handle, you notice. No discernible means of opening it, but it is, without a doubt, a door. A telephone starts ringing behind you down the hallway.
I go to answer it.
You turn around, following the sound of the telephone. And you don't see one. You can hear it. It sounded like it was just behind you a moment ago, but now it's farther. And when you look down the hallway you just walked from, the hallway does not bend or break like it followed the way you came. It just continues forward. But you keep walking, and you keep walking, until eventually at the far, far end of this hallway, you see a old telephone mounted against the wall. And it continues to ring.
He goes to answer it.
You lift the phone from the receiver. Kind of hold it in your hand for a moment. And you can, before you even push it to your ear, you can hear the static that comes from the phone. And you bring it up to your ear. And there's just a wash of static. But there's something about it. There's something like you think there's something in the static that you could be making out. And you listen closely. And then a voice comes over the phone.
Hörsniad ne ze zeoli naskaj.
And then the phone hangs up.
Neil puts the phone back on the receiver.
You put the phone back on the receiver. Looking behind you, the hallway's not nearly as long as it once was. However, it does just stop. Not at a wall. It just opens into a black void. However, there's a figure standing at the threshold of that void. You can see it, not terribly far off, an indigenous-looking male just standing in the doorway and just beckoning you towards him. Just very casually gesticulating with his hand that you should come towards him.
Neil he braces himself for a moment. And at first he takes a step back. At first.
Mm-hmm. You take a step back, which, by your reckoning, should have been flush up against the wall, but you don't come into contact with the wall where the phone was.
Hello?
Your voice echoes out in front of you. The figure leans forward a bit more. His face impassive. He stands there in just simple hide pants. No shirt. His hair tied back behind him. Just kind of like holds his hand out farther, leans forward with a bit more intent, and continues to gesture a bit more emphatically in your direction. Towards you.
Do you need something? Do you... Hello? Can you speak?
The figure stops and looks over his shoulder into the void behind him, looks back over at you, and sees something that causes him to blanch and step back into the void a single step, where he dissipates into smoke and is out of sight. You feel a hand pat down on your shoulder. And there's this perceptible stench of rotten meat coming from behind you. And you hear you swear for a second you feel hot breath against your neck. But then you hear a voice go, "I'm sorry, sir. We're closed at the moment." Sir? Sir?
Excuse me. Sorry?
Do you turn around to look what just touched you?
Yeah.
You stand around. You're no longer in a hallway. You are in what seems to be the storefront of some sort of butcher's shop. There is the counter where there are various cuts of meat on display, tiled floor, a push door that leads into some back that you cannot see. And the man who has put a hand on your shoulder is a very is a above average height and build, with a very kind of like, you know, piercing eyes, a wide, somewhat predatory smile, and a faintly just like kind of like regal bearing to him, but he's, you know, just wearing a simple white button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up just below the elbows. You can see some stains along the kind of cuffs where he's rolled them, and an apron, a butcher's apron that is spattered with blood that you cannot see red. You can just know instinctually that it is blood. There is a metallic scent to the air. And this gentleman just kind of grins at you and says, "I'm so sorry. We're currently closed. Not a lot of people stop by at these hours." There's this little silver name tag that's clipped to his apron that says, "Hello, my name is Lester." And he says, "But if there's something I can help you with, I'd be more than happy to assist."
Yes. Where exactly am I, sir?
Why, sir, you're always where you've been. Don't you know that? You seeing a single fly that's buzzing around the shop lands perfectly on his eyes as this man does not blink and just continues to smile at you like nothing is wrong. Just kind of crawls across his left eyeball, and then a single fly kind of just crawls up into his nostril. And he tilts his head a little bit and says, "Are you lost? Do you need me to place a phone call for you, sir?" "Oh, well, I suppose I could do business with you if you really want. What can I get for you, sir? Plenty of cuts to sell." He kind of like releases your shoulder and like gestures back at the various racks of meat behind him. "Finest in the region."
Vegetarian. I don't know how I ended up here.
"Of course, sir. Well, I have a phone in the back. Would you like me to place a call for you? Is there anyone I could reach out to on your behalf? The hour is late. Don't want to get caught out in this dark, am I right?"
I'm so fear that I have in my stomach right now. Just not...
He's just gesturing blankly behind him. His gaze does not break off of you.
There's no one to call. I'll find my way back the way I came. Yeah.
All right. If you insist, sir. Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to take a step in the back and continue to close up for the evening. But he like leans like really close. And you can actually hear the individual vertebrae of his spine crack as he leans forward in this slow motion. And he just says, "You get home now safe, sir. You hear?"
Will do.
And he just begins to like walk backwards without breaking eye contact, still grinning. And then just like in one fell motion, just with a crack of sinewy muscle, just climbs back over the counter, pushes the door open behind him, and steps back into it. As like he closes the door, it, you know, does that thing where it'll sweep open. It's not one of those like specifically open one way or the other doors. It like rocks back and forth as it closes slowly. and with each like open and close, you can kind of see into the back room of this butcher shop. You think you catch a glimpse of like some dirty, rusty bucket filled with severed arms and limbs that just kind of like sits in the back corner. But this gentleman, this Lester, just continues to stare at you and grin as the door slowly closes until it's fully flush against the door. And then you can hear several sickly poppings of bones and some weird, maybe mechanical, possibly organic squeal coming from the back room of the butcher shop.
Hi, Americans. Sunil, like, he looks behind him to see if there's is there any exit to this
There is a front door, and you can see a kind of darkened, unlit city street behind you.
Sunil's like, okay, that's enough meat for today. Gonna go to the door.
You like open the door, like the bell rings up of the butcher shop, and like it kind of startles you. You kind of go out onto the street, into this open, darkened city street, where immediately surveying your surroundings, you realize that there's nothing. There's a street, there's buildings, but there's no windows, there's no storefronts, there's no street lamps. It's just an expanse of dark and wrong. And before you realize, you hear a noise behind you. And instinctually, as you look, you see that there's no longer a butcher shop and you're no longer on the street. You're actually standing in the pulpit of a church. A very dirty church. A church that is littered with filth and grime. Several of the pews are broken and snapped. And where the altar would be has been replaced by a disturbing scene of tanned hides and leathers and cloth that have all been strung up into a very tattered remnant, and what look like various crowns and chains made out of tumbleweeds and brambles that have been fashioned all over this thing. And you kind of survey this for a moment, and then you hear a snap behind you, and you spin around once more, and you see that the doorway, the handleless doorway that just says 410 on it, is like 3 feet behind you. And it almost seems to be looming closer in your vision towards you.
Fuck. Fuck.
You hear a voice coming out from the church. You glance back over again. There's somebody sitting in one of the broken pews holding 2 heavily gauzed, bandaged hands in front of him, and he is soundlessly weeping, and then his head like slowly like turns towards you, and you hear like his neck crack as he looks over, and then he shows the gauzed palms towards you, which are just spattered with blood, and he just goes, "My hands. What happened to my hands? What happened to my hands?" He like stands up and lurches towards you. "What happened to my hands?"
I don't know.
The man like lunges towards like you, like with a one single movement. You recoil and you react, and you feel yourself falling into darkness, and then a heavy poof, thud, and you feel the wind get completely knocked out of you. Before you blink, and you realize you're awake now. Certainly, you are awake. None of that felt like a dream, but you know with certainty now that you are feeling consciousness. And you kind of blearily open your eyes, expecting to feel the gentle rocking of a train carriage. But you don't. What you're feeling is the hard, uneven ground of the desert floor. Now you may roll a sanity check, Sunil.
Fuck. take a second to open your goddamn character sheet. Everything is great. Every day is awesome.
Everything's going great. You're having a good time.
Excellent. So you don't take any sanity damage as you collect yourself. You get your bearings, and you take a few moments to take a few breaths. As your eyes adjust to the dark around you, you look around. You are sitting in the middle of nowhere. The middle of a South American desert. Southwestern American desert, I should say. There are some dark shapes around you, which as your eyes adjust, you can see like the moon overhead, stars, a couple of gray clouds. You're in the burned out remains of some old shack. And there are shapes near you that, as you examine, you see the unconscious forms of Mason, Kit, and Sybil lying around you.
What? Well, first off, he's senile, so he has a moment and freaks out for a second. He's just like, what is, Kit? And like, he immediately goes for Kit because obviously he starts
need an
faking
adult.
Kit.
Absolutely. You rush over to Kit. Kit is lying on his back. Everyone else is lying on their back. Just head kind of a little bit to the side, eyes closed, breathing. You can see that the inhale and exhale of some breaths coming from Kit. You shout, do you try to stir Kit awake?
Kit, everyone's sleeping. Okay, Kit needs to be here first. Kit is that one. Okay, Kit. And then he starts shaking.
Yeah. Kit, in your case, you start to feel yourself jostled awake from a sleep you don't remember entering. And sure enough, you find yourself in the same situation as you are stirred from slumber into an unknown territory. I'm going to need a sanity check from you, too.
Sure.
Kit, you will take 2 points of sanity damage as you wake up and realize you are not on a train, and it is, first of all, it is also nighttime when it was only the late morning when you were last aware. But Sunil is kneeling over you, shaking you awake, looking frantic.
What? Kit, like, shoots up into, like, a sitting position and just frantically, like, looks around, tries to get his bearings.
Yeah, you take a glance around you. You see the same visage, the old burned-out shack that you're currently at in the middle of what is stretching before you. You would assume is either the Arizona or New Mexico desert, at the very least. You know, even though it's dark, you can still, by the some moonlight, make out a genuinely familiar kind of topography that you would have been seeing outside of your window in the train. But you don't see train tracks anywhere nearby. You just see rocky, sandy, southwestern desert.
Neil, are you okay?
That's an objective question. I subjective. Either way, yes, I'm physically fine. I just I don't know if you know where we are either. It's are the other two?
I'm from the East Coast. I wouldn't know. Kit sort of like reaches up and like sort of like reaches out and like grabs Sunil by the shoulder as if to ascertain that Sunil actually is there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. You're here. We're here, right? We're here, right?
I believe we're here. Yes.
Kit nods slowly and then sort of like lets his hand fall. Wait, you said others. Others? Looks around.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're
you look
companions.
around. You can see Mason and Sybil similarly on their backs, unconscious, breathing in and out, lying around. You don't see James and you don't see Jackson.
We should wake them up. The four heads are better than two. Kit like sort of scrambles over towards the closest person, whoever that may be, and like goes to wake one of them up.
Yeah, the closest person to you would be Sybil.
Sybil, Miss Cordova.
I
Yeah,
assume I should make a sanity roll.
Yes, as your eyes blink open and you register where you are, or rather, where you are not, you are disturbed, however, not overcome.
What?
I don't know what's going on, but Sybil, something happened.
I can see that. I see where did the train go?
I don't know.
We
Mason?
Yeah.
Sybil immediately goes to shake him.
Hi, what's up? Mason kind of blinks his eyes open and realizes with just like a sore back that he had been laying on the ground, essentially. He sits back up and he observes his surroundings.
Make a sanity roll. Yo! Whoa!
Holy shit!
That is tasty.
Good shit.
That's some good shit.
Sure.
So proud of him, yeah.
Mason, for a minute, observes the others, observes that he is in fact on the ground, and he starts kind of checking himself. Does he have the mask on him?
You do not.
That's a very... Ew. So we don't have any of our stuff.
Looking around the immediate area, you don't see any baggage at all. Mason, sorry, what'd you say?
Mason starts checking his pockets. Does he have his dice?
Your dice are still your dice, your lighter, your flask are all still there.
Knife, gun.
The gun's gone.
Sybil,
Yeah.
do you happen to have your gun by chance?
That's it. She checks.
You do have your gun.
Okay. Gun, and then do I have my ring?
You do have your ring.
Okay, so clothes, gun, whatever money I had on me.
Yep,
I guess.
all there.
Okay, so Sybil like reaches behind her, pulls out her gun. Yeah, I've got it.
Huh.
Why? Are you missing yours?
Yeah, I have all the rest of my shit, but my gun's nowhere to be found. Dog tags? My dad's dog tag's still there?
Still there?
Yeah.
Still there.
I suppose, Kit, Sunil, are you two missing anything in particular?
Well, so Neil, you find, obviously you don't have any of your baggage on you, but anything that you recall having been in your pockets that you usually keep on you, still on you. You remember while drinking at the table with everybody else, which is your last memory before your weird dream and then waking up here. You remember Jackson passing you a cocktail napkin just because you had spilled a little bit of your Pisco Sour, and he just passed you one, and you remember like wiping it up and there not being trash around you, so you tucked it into your pocket. That is gone. That is no longer there. Kit, when you examine yourself, since you obviously realize that your bolt action rifle is not with you, it's not, don't have your suitcase either. You search through your pockets. The first thing you find is Mason's gun in your coat pocket.
Well, Kit sort of blinks. I think this is yours, and Kit will hand it over, handle first to Mason.
In addition to your general belongings that you usually keep on your being that are still there, you find in your breast pocket, you kind of feel like it's something small and hard. You go to investigate. You pull out a small, tiny key. Like that belongs to a safety deposit box with the numbers 410 on it.
It does not look like the key that was to Haas's luggage, right? It's a different key?
Yeah, different key.
Okay.
Does Kit show the key?
Yeah, Kit sort of like puts the key in his palm and looks at it and then sort of holds it out. 401. Is this any of yours? I've never seen this before.
I recognize that number, but that doesn't make any sense. Before we woke up, I had a dream. I believe.
Ooh.
And I just kept seeing a door with the numbers 410 on it. Just following. It's quite jarring, actually.
First of all, I think we need to find a road. Maybe see if we can find those tracks.
Mason, as you start to move a bit more, you feel a sharp pain near your left shoulder. And as you kind of like look down your shirt, you see that there's a spot of blood that's beginning to like emerge from underneath your shirt.
You okay, Mason?
Mason starts to unbutton his shirt a little bit to
unbutton
take
your shirt.
a look.
You look and you see that over your left shoulder there is a freshly sutured wound on your left shoulder, two of the stitches of which have just popped open and is now seeping blood. Make a sanity check. You realize now that you're actually really sore and in quite a bit of pain. All right, you take as it'll load 1 point of sanity damage from the revelation. Additionally, you also now find yourself 2 hit points lower. Not from the wound. I'm just informing you of your current state of being. Not a pressing wound. It's just some of the stitches have just popped open and it's now seeping blood. But yeah.
Ow! Fuck! Fuck! What the fuck? And Mason starts to kind of panic a little bit, checking himself for. He said that he was sore, right? Like just
like there's a general body like soreness that you kind of feel, and all of you start to kind of feel this general body soreness, like you just were very physically exerting yourselves, and you woke up the next day feeling a little out of it. However, Mason, there is an extra amount of stinging and soreness that comes from this seeming wound that you never remember receiving.
What the fuck? Do I have anything else on me?
No,
Any other stingy things?
you do not. Couple of bruises that you don't recall. That goes for a few of you, but nothing that's too big, too serious.
At this point, because Mason has been making pain sounds,
Yes.
it probably would have sort of, gotten up and kind of went over to him. What? Are you all right?
I don't know. There's sharp pain in my shoulder, and Mason, shaky, reveals the weird, sutured up, I guess, wound on.
Kit sort of like all business, just like shoos Mason's hands away and takes a look at it.
You kind of like lift up your hands, and Kit, you look at your fingertips, and you realize that there is actually like dried blood around the tip of some of your fingers. And when you look at the sutures on Mason's shoulder, you'd recognize your handiwork anywhere.
Interesting. Does it look like what sort of wound does it look like? Does it look like it would be like a cut,
It
like
looks like
a puncture?
looks like a bullet wound.
Looks like a bullet wound. I'd recognize a bullet wound anywhere too.
Bullet wound.
Kid sort of mutters and sort of pats himself down, realizes he doesn't really have anything to treat it with. Well, whatever happens, I patched you up. Would have been a bullet. Knowing me, I wouldn't have left a bullet in there, so you've got that too. That's a relief, I guess. Just kid sort of like tugs the shirt back over the wound and then takes Mason's hand and puts it back over it. Just keep your hand on it, keep pressure on it. All right.
Okay.
It'll be fine. It's just a little bullet. It could be worse. Kit does not have good bedside manner.
Thanks a lot, Doc.
You're welcome.
So we're in the middle of the desert. Mason's been shot. We're missing all of our things.
And there's a shack.
And there's a mysterious shack! Well!
Were we robbed? Do you think we're robbed, thrown off the train at some point? Maybe? I don't know.
Seems reasonable.
I
But we were with Jackson and that other guy earlier, James.
yeah.
I just do I remember a dream at all, Xander?
You
Do
don't
I
remember?
have any dream or
No.
recollection? What's
The
my
only
latest
thing
memory?
to your recollection, your latest memory was sitting in the dining car of the California Limited with Kit, Mason, Kit, James, Sunil, Jackson, Sybil, and drinking and having a pretty good time. And then blackness and then waking up here.
Mason stands up, sore as shit, just still with his hand on his shoulder, and he kind of peeks his head outside of the shack. What do I see?
The desert of southwest United States stretches out before you. In the moonlit darkness, you can see rocks in the distance before it eventually cuts out. You don't see any sources of light other than the stars overhead and the moon.
Can we see the train tracks?
You see no train tracks anywhere nearby.
Well, if we were thrown off the train, we got pretty far from it.
I'll say if somebody wants to roll some spot hidden checks, you're welcome to.
Sure.
Roll some
I
spot
will
hidden.
attempt.
I like rolling things.
I hate rolling things.
Woo!
Ah!
Hey, look at you two go.
I'm good.
So Kit, you take a glance outside. You spot some tire track depressions in the desert floor that lead to and away from this shack. You also see a couple other different tire tracks. Mason, you notice that the floor of the shack, there's this weird kind of like somewhat scorch mark in the center of the shack, and you realize from having been woken up and conferring with everybody else, all of you were lying in a circle around this scorch mark. There's also a few small flecks of blood on the floor as well.
Were we in a ritual circle?
You don't see any other additional markings, no other sigils or symbology.
Well, some good news over here. Tire tracks. Tire tracks lead to roads, so that's something at least.
Somebody dumped us here.
What?
Somebody shot me and fucking dumped us here. What the fuck? Tire tracks. All of our shit's missing. We woke up in a fucking circle. What the fuck happened?
Hold on. Hold on. I'm not going to tell you to calm down, but it would be helpful.
I'm not entirely sure what
Where
happened.
did Jackson go?
Yeah.
Mason kind of takes his hand on the like that scorch mark there. Is it like charcoal? Is there like remnants of anything that was like left there?
Yeah, you kind of like run your fingers along it. It's like it's not like charcoal. It's like something. When I say exploded, I don't want to evoke imagery of like some huge burst, but it's like more of like, you know, the scorch marks you'd see where like a firework would, you know, kind of, it would, you know, jet against the ground, or some other scorch mark where maybe a little something hot popped there for a moment. Nothing too damaging, but it is kind of the remnants of that is seemingly fresher than the burned wood and desert floor of that kind of forms the bottom of this shack.
Okay, I want to look around a little more for possibly any other signs that there was someone else here.
There are a few footprints in the sand. They largely seem to corroborate with the tire tracks, as a lot of the footsteps go near the tire tracks at some point and then disappear entirely, signifying that people either left a car, got in a car, both maybe.
By how high the moon is in the sky, what would you say? What time of night is it?
That's a very good question, good sir. Let me take a look at your character sheet very quickly. Because this is going to be one of two skills actually to tell that. I think I was going to say that this would be a natural world check. However, I don't think you have any points in that, so I'll be kind and tell you you're allowed to make an idea roll, which is just an intelligence check.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be nice. Nice. Based on where the moon is, kind of in the sky, you gather it's definitely well after midnight.
Fuck. Hey, if we wanna see about where this tire track goes, it gets really hot during the day. If we wanted to start moving, we probably should now, unless we wanted to stay put. But what do
No.
we want to do?
I want to know how we got here. And those tire tracks seem like the best chance for figuring that out. Plus, I don't want the chupacabras to get us, because that's probably what's out here.
Pardon, Miss Cordova. The what?
The chupacabras. Don't worry about it. Let's go.
Goat sucker.
Before we go, is anyone else hurt?
That's a good question.
Yeah, surveilling Sybil and Sunil, surveying yourselves, other than a couple of bruises you don't remember having, you don't find any other additional wounds on yourself.
Are my knuckles bruised at all?
Are your knuckles bruised at all? You
Yeah,
take a
are my
glance at them?
knuckles bruised?
Yeah.
Have I fired any bullets?
Yeah.
Have I?
Okay.
The gun that Kit gave back to you, yes, there are definitely less bullets than there were when you last checked, to your perception, less than an hour ago.
How bad are my fists? Are they
Not
just,
terrible. It's not like
big-
they're not like bruised and bloodied, but you definitely either got into a scuffle with somebody, a light scuffle, or you may have punched something or hit your hand pretty hard. But like it's hard to say, but something too bad.
Something happened. we got into a fight with somebody, maybe a group of somebody. I mean, shit. Do you guys have any of this? Either that you punched
Sybil
anybody, you
checks
fought anybody?
Well, I shot something. Maybe we got in a
Nothing.
fight and we lost?
Why wouldn't we remember it though?
Maybe they hit us really hard. Is that how it works, kid? Can you get hit hard enough to just forget things?
Yes, you can get can get hit hard enough to forget things. You can get clocked in the head. Other sorts of trauma could. Kit sort of like pauses and surveils everyone. Yeah, generally that could happen.
Okay.
But all of us? Think about it. The last thing that we all remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the last thing that we all remember was being on the train, right?
Yes. The last thing I remember was we were all sitting in the dining car having drinks. It was
Drinking
nice.
with Jackson and James.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jackson and James, and they're not here, and now it's night, and we got in a fight, and we have a weird, mysterious key. You didn't have that key before, right?
No, I did not. This is not the same key that I found in your cabin, Sybil.
And Sunil said that he saw a door with 410 in a dream.
Well,
We're losing time. We should
Yeah.
probably get on the road.
sounds like the only thing to do is follow those tire tracks and find that door. Let's go.
You
Unless
watch
anyone
as
has any
Sybil
objection.
bravely marches into the desert.
Mason kind of checks his back from the same left side, you know, that
Yeah.
he shot through. Did the bullet go through?
No, it did not.
Mason wants to look around and see if is there any bullet on the ground that was taken? Maybe like where like the little blood spots were. Maybe something, anything. Maybe a med
Yeah,
kit
now
that's,
that you're
like,
specifying
around?
that, I'll say you look under a couple of the scorched, broken floorboards that form half of the shack's base. A couple around the blood drops. You kind of like look under there, and you catch the faint glint of metal in the moonlight, and you see a small bullet that you pull out that's got a little bit of blood on it. You kind of hold up into the light.
Did it come from my gun?
No, it's not the same caliber gun.
Did it come from Sybil's gun?
It does not match Sybil's gun caliber either.
What?
Does
You
it,
doubt my handiwork?
No, I don't doubt your handiwork at all. I just wanted to be sure because we woke up with no recollection of what happened. Just wanted to be sure. It's I've heard about people getting infections from gunshot wounds. So
Well, does the bullet match? I mean, I'm not exactly an expert or anything, but if it matches any of our guns, that would be important.
it didn't come from mine, and it didn't come from yours.
No.
What kind of casing is this? Not casing. What kind of
Caliber?
bullet is this?
Yeah,
Caliber.
because
yes.
because
Thank you.
you got a soldier in the party, and I'm not gonna have anyone roll to see if they can determine what kind of caliber bullet this is. That would be kind of redundant. This is a one second, let me pull up my notes. This is a 32 caliber bullet for a revolver.
Oh. Did Jackson have a 6-shooter?
Jackson did not have a six shooter.
Did James?
James did not have a
Do I
6
remember
shooter.
that?
Yeah, you don't remember him having a 6 shooter. Oh, sorry. Jackson did have a 6 shooter. However, you knew that Jackson had a 45 caliber revolver, not a 32.
Huh. Weird. Fucking weird. Should we get going? Actually, can I look around for the doc's medical supplies or med kit?
Yeah, you don't see them anywhere around.
Can I Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. So, you must have stitched him up before we ended up here. Yes?
One would assume so. Kit sort of holds up his hand and shows the bloody fingers. But that wouldn't make too much sense. I wouldn't stitch him up with the bullet still inside him, and if the bullet was here, then it could be that we were arranged in the way we were found. I don't know. My current theory is that we were drugged somehow.
Those chupacabras.
Maybe they took our med kit. Maybe they took it with them. I mean, like, if we got into a scuffle of some kind, you know, I mean, we must have fucked somebody up.
Why would they put Mason's gun in Kit's pocket?
That is a very good question.
I mean, Kit's a better shot than I am.
Why would they put a key in Kit's pocket?
I might have picked it up somewhere and somebody didn't like it. Mason might have given me his gun, like you mentioned. It could have been incidental and not related to whoever was, well, responsible for this. Also, do chupacabras really drug people, Miss Cordova?
Anything's possible.
Kid has no idea what a chupacabra is, by the way.
Yeah.
So we were in a circle, and there's, I guess, like, can I make an occult roll? See if this is, if anything.
Yeah,
like,
go ahead and make an occult roll. That's a great idea. Thank you so much. An occult roll. You don't notice any occult significance about this scene whatsoever. So you're pretty confident there's nothing occult on display here.
So I'm going to learn something new about the chupacabra then.
God damn it.
Well,
Is there anything else to survey?
Yeah,
in
you don't
this?
really see anything else in the immediate vicinity.
And someone remind me what we did find, just because I'm a little slow.
we
Spook.
found that we were arranged in a circle. There was a scorch mark, like, at the center there.
Mm-hmm.
Mason did not have his gun. His gun was, for whatever reason, in Kit's pocket. Mason has been shot. We maybe found the bullet, but it could just be a bullet. We really don't know. There are tire tracks leading away, and there are footsteps going to where those tire tracks are. I don't think I'm missing anything else.
Actually, quick question.
Yes.
Do any of those footprints match our shoes?
Yes.
Oh,
Makes sense. So, I mean, so we were walked here, or we walked, not like we were carried, so...
Do any of the tracks not match our shoes? Is a
Yes.
question. Okay.
So that scorch mark, does it seem like it came from a chemical fire or from like a powder?
Well, that's going to be a check. Hold on. That's going to be... Oh, goodness. Hold
Me
on.
prepping myself to frantically look for whatever check he's about to say.
Take a drink. There's too many, too many
I
skills.
don't believe this is going to be a check you're proficient in. This is going to be a, I'd say, a chemical check. That's not a skill you have, unfortunately, or the equivalent of a, I'll say natural world check from you, Mason.
Ooh, okay.
Would chemistry be obliquely related enough to pharmacy to be able to use that?
I was gonna ask the same question.
Let me check the description of the pharmacy skill real quick.
Roger, roger.
Yep. What's your vector, Victor?
Yeah, I fully expected to not.
Yeah,
to not fucking land that.
I'd allow a pharmacy check.
10-4. Might as well.
Here, Kit, take a look at this.
Sure.
Recognize that at all? What kind of fire is this?
You take a look. It's not a scorch from like a normal fire, but you also can't recognize any chemical significance that would have caused it. It looked like maybe something burst here, nothing that like was set alight, something like exploded here, a small contained explosion. But I would say that you do notice like trained sources of some kind of powdery substance that you can't identify.
It's not your regular sort of carbon fire. There's something else here. Not sure what it is. Listen, I'm not a chemist. I'm barely a pharmacist. But, yeah, no, doesn't look like a regular fire.
Okay.
Did you touch any of that powder that you noticed?
I wouldn't think that Kit would directly touch
Sure.
it. I think that if he would, he would use like something as a
Sure.
proxy
So
to look
yeah,
at it.
like it's some kind of like it's hard to tell. It's very dark, so it's hard to tell discern any color. It's some kind of like very fine powder, or maybe some kind of, it might be some like kind of very, very fine type of sand-like substance, but it doesn't have it's noticeably different. It is some sort of chemical or remnant of something else.
Well, I don't have any way of transporting it, so let's commit that to memory and follow up later, I guess.
Do we feel good to follow the tracks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel good to
Yeah.
follow the tracks.
All right. We're losing moonlight, people. Let's go.
You guys start to walk to the best of your ability, following along these tire marks in the desert floor. You walk for what feels like a while, and now that the adrenaline has subsided a little bit, you truly begin to experience just how cold the desert is at night. And as you continue to walk, can I get con rolls from everybody?
Oh, shit.
Oh, fuck.
Fuck.
Oh no.
No, no.
We all fail.
Oh, shit.
It's cold. We're tired.
It's cold.
It's cold, you're tired, you're confused, some of you are a little scared. Yeah, you begin to shake and shiver uncontrollably. No adverse physical effects to like your health, but what this is mechanically is if any rolls come up, you have a penalty die added to them just for the for the duration of this.
Oh,
You begin to like shake and shiver as you continue to walk. It's like you're thinking, this is the desert, why is it so cold, you know? But you continue to walk, and it truly feels like you're walking through like hours, but it surely can't have been that long. The sky doesn't turn that much overhead, it just feels a lot longer than it actually is. But eventually you realize that you step onto a tract of dirt road through the desert. Notable differently, it's not like paved, but it is covered with various different like tire indentations, old, recent, askew a bunch, but it is noticeably a road through the desert, running in two different directions.
Right, but also terrible.
which way are the tire tracks going?
It's at this point that I'm gonna have to ask you to make a spot hidden check with a penalty die, because there are a bunch of tire tracks present, and making out them. So yeah, what you do is you roll the skill, then click the bonus penalty button in the chat window, and then but give me that penalty die.
No, just one.
Yeah, just type in
One
one and then
penalty die?
yeah, one penalty die.
Bonus or penalty? Penalty.
It's a 1. Okay, so you still succeed. Yeah, you it's no longer an extreme success, but it's still a hard success, and that counts for something.
That's neat.
You are able to make out the tracks of the couple of cars that you followed from the shack on the road, leading into one direction.
I think they went this way.
All
Should
right.
we go that way, or should we
I
go
think
the
so,
other
yes.
way?
So, it's sort of it's kind of dark enough, like looking in one direction or the other. Would there be any indication of like artificial light or civilization otherwise, if that makes sense?
Yeah, Kit, would you give me a spot hidden check?
Sure.
Nice.
Penalty die, right?
Yeah, penalty die.
Fuck yeah! What the fuck?
Fuck yeah.
God,
What the
okay.
fuck?
A one.
Well, no. In the penalty die case, you always take the worst
I know.
result of the two. So it is a 61, so you still succeed. You actually, yes. Opposite of the way that the tracks lead, you think you can make out over several rocky ridges, extremely faint, the source of light from some faraway place.
Are the tracks heading in that direction? or
No.
Well, looks like there's civilization that way, at least from what I can see. The tracks head that way. I don't know about you all, but it sort of like tries to not shiver.
Yeah.
I'm sure you felt that feel before. I don't know about you, but I would rather go towards civilization, especially considering Mr. Allen's physical state and everyone else.
Sybil is like visibly shivering, as you can tell. Her mind is warped. I'm freezing. I'm very worried about Mason. I'm very worried about all of us, but also adventure.
Kit shrugs out of his suit coat because he still has like a vest and a shirt on, and just hands the coat to Sybil.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, yeah, let's go to civilization. Adventure can wait. Civilization sounds good, yes.
Yeah, so the four of you start like walking that direction of the road. Walk for maybe about like 5 minutes or so before you hear a noise coming from up the road behind you from where you were walking away from. And a glance, you can see a pair of lights winding through the desert along the road from the direction you're not following, coming your way. Not at any high speed, but noticeably headlights coming down the road.
So those headlights, wheels, car frame, anything, are they piquing my memory at all?
Nothing is piquing your memory, and it is in fact hard to see the car in the dark. That is also like, a little, when you have the bright headlights in your kind of eyes, it's hard to like discern. Your eyes can't really just see the shapes, but nothing that stirs your memory. It seems to be a larger motor vehicle, not a standard, what's the name, like like Ford car, Model T Ford. It's larger, possibly a truck. Coming down through the desert way.
Oh, a car.
Mason kind of starts to approach it, waving his hand.
Yeah, you double back and
calling out
up the road. The truck begins to, like, as it comes around a bend and like within direct visual of you guys, as the light strikes you directly and you like wave, you call after the truck. The truck like slowly begins like come to an eventual halt along the road. Not a harsh stop, just a gradual eventual break. The light's still on, and you hear a door pop open, and a voice calls out, "You folks lost out here?"
Yeah, you can kind of say that. Yeah. Hi,
like
my name is Mason. These are my friends.
Are
you on your way over to that?
A figure steps down from the truck and like walks forward in front of the headlights. Kind of like you heard some rummaging and holds up an old flashlight that like points in your direction to like shine a little extra light on you guys. You can see that this gentleman is probably in his like late 30s, a bit more portly, wearing some like mechanic overalls. Got a couple of like small grease stains on him, but he looks relatively all right, all things considered. Shaved, balding head. And he kind of like walks over and goes, "I'm on my way into town. You folks look like you're really haggard. Is everyone all right?"
I was shot, but I don't remember it. Do you know where we are?
You're in New Mexico, son. About, 30 minutes outside of Madrid.
Holy shit.
South of Santa Fe, north of Albuquerque.
Oh, I mean, that
Albuquerque.
checks out where we got off of the train, right?
Yeah, but why would
Apparently.
we go why would we leave Albuquerque? I was supposed to catch a train over to New York, but...
And I was supposed to go to Chicago.
And I was supposed to go to Maine, and here we are in the desert. Anyway,
Do you possibly have enough space in your car so that we can get to town with you?
I got a couple of seats up in the head, but I mean, if you folks want to hitch a ride in the back of the truck, I mean, I just got some gear back there, but there should be enough room. It's not going to be too comfortable, but it'll take us 30 minutes to get into Madrid. If you folks want to hitch a ride, I can take you to the hospital there. It's a company hospital, but it's I can probably help you out if you're feeling too unwell.
That'd be nice.
Thank you, sir. That would be much appreciated. What is your name?
Oh, Moxon. Jefferson Moxon.
Does that pique my memory at all?
Nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Moxon. We would be much obliged.
Yeah, of course. If you ever hop in the back, he holds the flashlight out to one of you. If any of you need help seeing anything, it's a little cluttered back there. I got some gear. Made a stop over in Santa Fe. But yeah, hop on in. I'll drive you in. You folks look right haggard. I'll get you into town, take you to the hospital, and maybe they can help you folks out. Where'd you say you were coming from?
Albuquerque. Or
well-
that's
well,
where we were.
We were on the California Limited, but now we're not.
Familiar? Well, if you're coming by train, there's tracks not too far off from here, but the Limited doesn't run along that line. There's a spur that leads down to Madrid for the mining companies, but let's get you into town. Here, hop in the back. Let me help you out.
thank you.
Sure,
Thank
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can kind of escort you to the back of his truck. It's a little cluttered back there. There's some tarps draped around and various collections of supplies, barrels of gasoline, oil, that looks a lot like mechanic supplies that's being stocked up in the back here. And he hops back into the front of the truck and goes, "It's not too uncomfortable, I hope, back there. Just hang tight. Feel free to use one of the tarps to warm yourselves up. The desert gets awfully cold this time of year at night, but we'll be in Madrid in no time."
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Yeah, sorry.
And Mason proceeds to grab a
Yeah,
tarp.
absolutely. I am going to look something up very quickly.
Yeah, so Mason grabs the tarp, kind of does anybody else sit down?
I mean, I presume all of us
Yeah,
do. I'm not gonna stand in the back of a truck.
Sybil immediately gets closer to Mason, you are warm. Yes.
Mason puts his good arm around Sybil.
Yeah.
From that side, and they just kind of huddle close.
Yeah,
Does
and
anybody else want to sit in? It's enough space for more.
Sunil gets in the tarp. He's
Listen, I'm a
It's
small
cold.
person. I get cold very easily.
Kit just sets his jaw and lets them be warm.
yeah. Yeah, and the gentleman, Jefferson, gets back in the front of the car and starts driving off down the road in the direction of civilization. And let's take a break.
Whew.
Yay!
Goddamn.
So we'll be back in a little bit. So don't go anywhere. We will be back very soon. Stay tuned.
The Valley of Unrest by Edgar Allan Poe. Once it smiled a silent dell where the people did not dwell. They had gone unto the war shores, trusting to the mild-eyed stars nightly from their azure towers to keep watch above the flowers, in the midst of which all day the red sunlight lazily lay. Now each visitor shall confess the sad valley's restlessness. Nothing there is motionless, nothing save the airs that brood over the magic solitude. Ah, by no wind are stirred those trees that palpitate like the chill seas around the misty Hebrides. Ah, by no wind those clouds are driven that rustle through the unquiet heaven, uneasily from morn till even, over the violets there that lie in myriad types of the human eye, over the lilies there that wave and weep above a nameless grave. They wave, from out their fragrant tops eternal dews come down in drops. They weep, from off their delicate stems perennial tears descend in gems.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. So, as for my band of I almost called you adventurers. I'm sorry, investigators.
Investigators. Sybil would like to imagine herself either, but
Yes, of course, naturally. So the rest of the ride in the back of Jefferson's truck is uneventful, albeit uncomfortable. You guys eventually, though, after maybe 30 minutes, hard to tell time, emerge from the road, passing by various wooden homes that are pretty uniformly built along the stretch alongside the road, and pass into a town. You see a small sign that you pass by that just reads Madrid. No additional flourish. It's not even a very special looking sign. It just says, well, to be specific, it's spelled as Madrid, but you've heard it pronounced as Madrid. Drives into town. You see a couple of small electric lamps that, buzz and flicker, that hang outside a couple of the houses. But at this hour, a lot of the town is dark. You drive past a building that, as the headlights pass over it, you see overhead, the kind of like porch of it is a sign that reads the Mineshaft Tavern, and kind of drives up along the road, a little wide, that just has a signpost nailed over the front of it that says Madrid Hospital, very simply put, and a little red cross sign that is painted above it. This town kind of reeks of industrial West energy, and there is the thick smell of something in the air. It's the smell of coal smoke that kind of like lingers through the air. But Jefferson brings the truck to a stop, and says, all right, well, this'll be it. I think Doc's still inside. If not, we got a couple of company nurses in there that will attend to you. I'm so sorry about whatever happened to you, but best of luck, and I certainly hope that you folks get better, and hopefully
Thank you, Mr. Moxon.
You're very welcome. Well, if you don't mind me, I gotta get back to my shop.
Really quickly, which company?
Oh,
What's the name of the
Los Cerrillos Iron and Coal. Yeah, it's
Thank you very much
Madrid's.
for your kindness.
You're very welcome. Yeah, he turns back to Kit and says, "Yeah, Madrid's changed hands a few times over the years, but Los Cerrillos is the one that keeps us under its thumb now. We're not actually incorporated, but we are a company town."
Thank you
Well,
for everything.
Thank you.
hope you folks have a good night. Sorry about whatever happened to you. After seeing you out, Jefferson climbs back into the front of his truck, drives off further down into the town.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, let's
To the
go.
hospital.
Yeah, let's get
Yeah.
Mason fixed up.
Yeah, you guys step inside into the lobby of this hospital. Very, not like a rundown, like cheap place, but a very simple place. You can already tell that this place was built probably within the last decade, from wood, and is pretty simply furnished, but efficient. There is a little window desk in the hospital, a couple of wooden chairs lying around, acting some sort of like impromptu waiting room. There is a little lamp that's on in the office behind the desk. You don't see anybody in there. You see a couple of like filing cabinets, and the little desk lamp that's on, a chair that's just kind of sitting occupied. There's another door, a couple of doors in there. One of them is askew. There's a little bell on the front of the hospital desk.
Mason
Sybil
just kind of
rings it.
goes and.
Yeah,
Our hands
bing!
touch the bell at the same time. Oh, sorry.
Sunil
Sorry,
just
my bad.
ding.
God, I love it. Sunil has the big third wheel energy. You ring the bell. A moment you hear some rifling around the back, and a moment later, a middle-aging woman, in her, late 30s, early 40s, graying auburn hair, wearing a nurse's uniform, kind of like pokes her head out the door. There's a couple of dark bags in her eyes, but she kind of like perks up a little bit and like walks over, sits down at the desk, and goes, "Oh God, good." She like rubs her eyes blearily and like looks at like a small pocket watch. Good morning. So sorry. Yes. How can I help you folks?
I was
Our
shot.
friend has been injured, and
Oh, good lord. All right. Well, the doc isn't in. But we can take care of you here, sir. Are you one of the miners? Are you with the company?
No, we would. I guess we
Oh.
were just some people passing through.
All right. Well, then I'm
having
gonna have
a
to
little bit of
ask you
difficulty
to.
remembering.
Sure. Okay. Well, no concern. If you're not a member of the company, she like reaches under the desk. I'm going to need you to fill out this form. We are a company-owned hospital. However, we can treat you. I just need you to fill out some personal information on the sheet. Is that okay with you, sir?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Here you go. If you are unable to write, it is okay if one of your friends here writes it for you. The rest of you, you need anything else, any of you, or is it just your friend here?
I think the rest of us are okay. Just a little doubt.
It's just Mr. Allen here that's injured. I am a doctor, so if it's possible that I could use your facilities to take a look at him. If not, then I totally understand. And Kit totally does understand bureaucracy, hospitals, etc.
The nurse nods and goes, "Okay, I will let you know. I'll have to look into seeing if that's something I can allow. But of course, yeah." She like slides over a clipboard and an ink pen and just says, "Just take your time, fill that out. It's very late, but the hospital does have a staff on board, me and a couple others. We'll be able to help you out, sir. The rest of you look cold. I could get some blankets if you'd like. We have some woolen sheets that lying around that I could bring out for you while your friend's filling out that form."
That sounds
Of course. Just a moment. She gets up and walks to the office. Comes back a moment later after you've sat down, carrying a small stack of woolen blankets. Hands them out to each of you to help you warm up if you should like them. Mason, as you're like looking over the sheet, it says your name, like where you're from, place of residence, age, very generic personal information. However, you get to the section that's labeled date, and you realize, it's nighttime, but what day is it kind of vibe, you know what I mean?
Excuse me, miss.
She like looks back over from the desk. Yes, sir?
What day is it?
Sunday, April 17th.
What day was it while we were on the train?
April 10th.
It's been a week? Oh my god, it's been a
I'm
week.
sorry, what?
It's
April 7th.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, it's technically April 17th. It's Sunday morning. It's about 3:30 in the morning by now.
Okay.
How's it been a week? How's it been a week?
Chupacabra stole a week from us.
We lost 7 days. We might not have seen Jackson in 7 days. We might not have seen James in 7 days. Who knows how long we were out? Oh, fuck.
Well, just focus on filling out the forms, Mason. All that matters right now is you get better, okay? Do you need help?
No,
I can write.
I've got it. Thank you, Sybil. Yeah, and Mason's just kind of writing.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions that seem like really out of place?
No, everything seems pretty standard and above board. Largely, you're getting the vibe that this is like not a usual hospital. This is a hospital made for company miners and like workers, employees of a company town. And because you're like not a member of the company, you're mostly just having to fill out, a couple of acknowledgments, understanding that if any, you have to pay any fees here at your time in the hospital, they need to be paid up front instead of being charged to your company credit account. So yeah, but everything's pretty above board though. It just reeks of bureaucracy. But yeah, you take some time to fill that out while the rest of you are kind of sitting in this darkened waiting room.
Sybil gives Kit his jacket back. Thank you.
Yes. No problem.
Fuck. Am I getting like any flashes or anything of like memory at all?
You are not. Not at all.
Not in the slightest.
Not in the slightest.
Not even like scratching the back of my skull, like
nothing. To your perception,
nothing.
You were on the train and then you woke up in the middle of the desert 7 days later.
Fuck me.
Would I be particularly hungry or thirsty, as in, not having eaten or drank for more than a day or so?
You feel thirsty and fatigued from your little desert hike back there and from some minor exhaustion, but, personally evaluating yourself, you don't feel particularly thirsty or hungry.
Okay. Well, like Sybil said, right now we need to focus on you getting that looked at, Mason, in a place with facilities.
Yeah. Mason finishes filling out the board and hands it back to the nurse.
Great. She takes it from you and nods and says, "All right, thank you, sir." She stands up and walks up to you and says, "I can take you back to a room. You were shot. I saw that your wound is already partially sutured. Are you experiencing any discomfort at the moment?"
Yeah, it hurts.
Yeah.
The whole body feels kind of sore.
We're gonna get that closed back up for you. We'll clean off some of the blood, and we can see about maybe getting something to help with the pain.
Do you mind if my friends come with me at all?
It's a little out of place, but if your friend there's a doctor, I'd be willing to let him come back.
Okay.
Yeah. The nurse turns to Sybil and Sunil and says, "But you two don't mind waiting out here in the lobby, do you?"
Completely understandable.
All right. You're not with the company. You're passing through the town, yes?
Yes.
Madrid doesn't exactly have many places that cater to out-of-towners, but I'm sure that we can get something situated for you if you feel like you need to rest your head for the evening. I can see about getting you to lie down in a hospital bed, maybe?
That sounds lovely. I'll take it.
All right. Well, just wait out here for a moment. I don't need you to fill anything out for that. I'll just consider it a personal kindness, but just if you could wait here while I tend to your friends. And the nurse
Thank you.
leads Kit and Mason back into the hallways of this hospital, takes you guys off to like a little side room, and kind of like knocks on the door and says, Sheila, would you mind getting me a needle and thread? We have to close up a opened wound. And another nurse says, oh, right away, and begins like rifle through some supplies. And as she's like walking down a hallway, she does, and she kind of looks over her shoulder and says, you're actually in luck. Not a lot of miners have been in recently, so the beds are a little empty at the moment, so more than happy to accommodate you. She kind of like leads you to a small little room, like point gestures you inside and says, please, after you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And Mason goes and sits down
on
on
a
the
little
bed.
hospital bed. And she says, if you could keep your voices down, Jerry's in the next bed over there, and he needs to get some rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see like just like lying in like the next bed over, there's just a gentleman like sleeping, who's got his hands kind of like loosely bandaged up a little. And the nurse says, if you can sit down here, you can sit on the edge. She like looks over at you, Kit, and says, there is a small little hand towel over there on the desk. Would you mind grabbing that? I just need him to bite down on something in case he gets any strong stings.
Of course.
Nods.
Kit will grab it and, you know, do the whole like roll it up and make it into a tight little log.
So I've actually I don't remember any of this happening, and I've never had stitches before this point. How bad is it?
It's
You'll
not.
be fine.
Yes, thank you. You're going to be fine. It might sting a little, but you'll be fine. Just here, just in case it'll make you feel more comfortable. You can bite down on this towel.
It'll be a pinch and a tug. That's it.
Okay.
She leans over, removes the broken sutures first. So like pulls, like gently like tugs those sutures out of place, then takes the needle and thread and begins to delicately give you the 2 stitches to replace. That's right, just bite down. It's all right. It's gonna be over. She kind of like pulls the thread taut a little bit. Goes in for the 2nd stitch. It's fine. You're doing great. Tugs it. Ties it off. Cuts it. Yeah, not so bad. Not too bad.
Sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then she says, Doctor, would you mind terribly grabbing me that bowl of warm water? There's a bowl underneath the cupboard there, and the sink should give you some from the tap. Thank you. I'm just going to wipe some of the blood off from around the wound, so this won't take too long at all.
Yeah, Kit just follows her directions, basically.
Yeah, and she says to you, Kit, as she's kind of like, you know, she starts like dipping cloth into the bowl, and begins to like gently dab around to clean off some of the blood from Mason's skin. Looks at you, Kit, and says, I take it that you're responsible for the other sutures?
I am not sure how he busted those 2, though.
Well, it's quite all right. Good job. You, were you with a hospital in Santa Fe? Where are you from?
Boston, actually.
A long way from home. Vacationing?
Coming back. Going from the California Limited, going back to the East Coast.
Well, it must have run into some trouble having to pass through these parts, and, well, your friend here clearly is in, well, all things considered. I can tell that the bullet's already been removed, so that's good. She, like, washes off her hands and just goes, here, let me give you a proper bandage for that, sir. Begins to, like, wrap a gauze, like, around your shoulder and upper arm, just to kind of, like, cover off the area where the wound is. All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, don't try to use too much of your arm or shoulder, and when you move, too much strenuous activity, those sutures will burst again, so just be very careful going forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mason, his face is a little bit red. The tears kind of well up in his eyes a little bit, and his nose just gets a little snotty. He's sniffling.
Mm-hmm.
He don't like this. He is visibly uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Miss.
Oh.
Sort of prompting for name.
She like finishes like cleaning off her hands, and she says, "Anne, you can just call me Anne."
Thank you, and
Well, let me see about getting your friends into a couple beds to the rest. Doctor, what was it? Sorry,
Sullivan, Kit Sullivan.
Doctor Sullivan. Well, I can get some beds arranged, just so if you folks need to lay your head down for a minute. Madrid, it's bustling in the morning, so you're probably going to be up pretty early with the miners once they're hooting and hollering down there on the streets, but you should at least get a few hours in and feel a bit rested. Although for you, mister, she points at you, Mason says, I'd recommend a little bit more of a prolonged stay, a couple of hours in the morning just to rest up. I can see about once the doc is in the morning about getting something to help with any pain you may be feeling. Otherwise, I prescribe you a quick trip to the Mineshaft Tavern.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
But you didn't hear that from me. And she like nods, nods at you, Kit, and says, your friend can stay in here for the night. Would you like to follow me and I'll get you and your friend situated in another room?
Sure. Kit sort of looks at Mason. You gotta be okay here alone.
And Mason kind of looks over at the other guy sleeping and back to Kid. Yeah, I'll probably be fine.
All right.
If anything happens, I'll holler.
I'm sure you won't need to, but yeah, we'll be nearby.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck.
Anne leads you back to the waiting room, gestures to you, Sybil and Sunil, and says, all right, I can get you some rooms real quick just to lay your head down. So if the three of you would like to follow me, I can get you some blankets. And is there anything else you might be needing to help your comfort tonight?
I wouldn't want to impose any more than we already have.
Well, all right then. Was that, bro?
Is Mason okay? Is Mason okay?
Oh, Mason. Oh, your friend. Yes, he's gonna be fine. I've cleaned up the blood. I've resutured the wound. All things considered, not the worst thing I've seen. So he's gonna be just okay. Once the doc gets in the morning, I'm gonna talk to him about maybe getting him something about the pain. Otherwise, as I told him, if you guys go to the Mineshaft Tavern, even though you're not with the company, you might be able to find some alternative medicine there to help with some of your ailments. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
all right. Well, let me show you to a room. And Nurse Anne leads you guys off to another small hospital bed where there's three hospital beds laid out. Couple of simple cheap wool blankets. Says, now it does get awfully hot in here in the mornings, so I would recommend not really bundling yourselves up. You'll be a sweating mess by the time you wake up. So just by your own judgment, I hope you guys get a nice few hours of sleep. As I explained to your friend, Madrid gets a little busy in the morning when all the miners are heading into the shafts for work, so you might be disturbed by the sound, but feel free to fall back asleep if you can. I'll have the doc talk to you when he's in, and I'll let you know if you ever need to leave. All right?
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yep, she nods her head, walks over, turns off the lamp in the room as a courtesy, steps out, closes the door behind herself, leaving the three of you in the room.
Seven days.
7 days. 7 entire days to just forget.
I mean, I'm not too hungry. I'm not too thirsty beyond the obvious. The whole whatever happened to cause us to lose time must have happened more recently, I guess.
Well,
We're missing a week, and we're missing 2 people. And also,
I'm sorry you got mixed up with this, Sunil.
yes.
you know, it's perfectly fine. It's not as though you decided to bring me up here. It's not as like you had any sort of say, and from what I understand, no sort of say. For all we know, this is how it is to be. I can't get... Did any of you... No, that's silly.
Go ahead.
Sunil, come on.
When... Between being on the train and being in the desert, did you dream at all?
No.
No, it was just like it sort of snaps, just like that, just like a light out, then back in. Did he? You?
You mentioned a door with 410 in it earlier when we were out in the desert. You mentioned you dreamed, and you dreamed there was a door. The door with the key that Kit.
Well, there was no
Or at
way
least
to
the-
open the door from what I could see, but it feels strange, and to me, if it's an entire week that we don't remember, and all I have is this weird dream, maybe it has pieces of whatever we forgot. I don't know. It seems
not-
ridiculous.
No, not at all. We're missing a week and 2 people. Nothing is ridiculous at this point. It's a mystery, and all we have is your dreams. So, anything you remember, you have to tell us.
I remember we were on... I was on the train. There was no one else there. Everything was in black and white. And I was walking through the train, and something was compelling me, and I was just going, and then there was just more cars, and then suddenly I was in a hallway, and there was the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't see a way to open the door. I don't know if it was locked. I didn't see a way to open it. And then I got a phone call. Well, there was a phone call, and I picked it up. And there was just some sort of gobbledygook just all in the phone, just static, and then something was said, and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand a word. And then suddenly there's a man beckoning to me, and I was scared, so I didn't go towards him. That's the weird thing, is that through all of this, initially I wasn't scared. Everything, it felt normal. Like nothing felt... something was wrong, but it was normal. It's strange. And then suddenly I'm on the street outside of a butcher shop, and the butcher is actually quite terrifying. I will just flat out say that one.
What made him terrifying?
Well, just his movements were unnatural, almost, and there were flies, and the flies would land in his eyes and crawl in his nose, and he wouldn't react. And then we get to... He kept asking me, did I want to make a phone call? Did I want to come to the back? And something told me no. So I didn't. But upon him unnaturally just creaking across the table to get to the back, he opens the door and it starts swinging, and I see limbs, and it's off-putting. And then suddenly I'm in a church. But it's covered in tanned hides and crowns made of... Oh goodness, do I not remember? But there's a man silently weeping, and he has gauze all over his hands, and then he rolls them over to me, and all I see is blood, and he just starts screaming. He starts slowly, but it builds. What happened to my hands? What happened to my hands? And the door with 410 just keeps coming closer and closer to me, and everything is closing in, and he's closing in, and he lunges at me, and then I was in the desert, and you were all knocked out. That's what
Well,
I
that's
remember.
terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying.
Put it lightly, yes. Thank you for telling us.
I'm sorry, just
Why are you apologizing?
the whole thing. It's just, there's just so much going on. It's almost, I almost feel the need to apologize just because there's so much.
Well, I doubt it's anything you did.
No. It's hard to remember dreams. It's good that you were able to remember what you did.
Wait.
Want a hug?
Sunil like braces up for a minute, and then he's just like, "Oh, okay."
Sybil gives him a hug.
Aw. Quality content.
It's gonna be okay. I know I don't know that it's gonna be okay, but it's gonna be okay. We'll get through this. So we have a dream, we have a key, and we have 2 missing people.
You mentioned a man with bandaged hands. Yeah?
Yes, bandaged hands.
Hmm. Funny, there was a... Mason is sharing a room with another patient who has bandaged hands. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but... I mean, with everything that's happening, it's enough to make your brain itch.
Keep it in mind.
No, I'd say that's, given the situation, I wouldn't call anything a coincidence right now.
Mm.
I don't want to leave Mason alone in that room with him. then.
Sorry, about how far away is Mason's room from like where we are?
I'd ballpark it like less than 100 feet. Just down a bend in the hallway. Yeah, small place, but it accommodates a mining town. Yeah.
He's very close by. It's fine. The other guy was out cold anyway. He'll be all right.
Sybil is just like press X to doubt.
Kit like pulls out his pocket watch and like takes a look at the time. Is it still like around 3-ish or?
It's like around like 4 in the morning.
Well, it's getting very, very early. We should at least try to get some sleep. And Mason's just down the hall and around the corner. I don't think anything will happen, but if it does, he can holler and we'll be there in a shot. Alright?
Okay.
You two look terrible. You need rest.
Could say the same for you, dog.
I always look terrible.
I'm gonna get the chupacabras for this.
On that note, I'm going to cut back over to Mason's room. Mason, you trying to fall asleep?
Honestly, with what's all happening, he's a little too panicked.
Mm-hmm.
He's the adrenaline been gone. That whole suturing thing, his shoulder fucking hurts. He's trying to lay on his right side to like take the ease off of it, but like he it's like he's staring through his eyelids, you know. Like it's just not happening for him tonight.
Yeah. You're just sitting there for a long while and you just really can't get to sleep. Which is very bizarre when you start to swear you're dreaming.
Mason opens his eyes back up again and kind of
You're lying,
looks around.
not in a hospital bed, but on a park bench. When you open your eyes back up.
I sit back up. Do I still feel pain in my shoulder?
You do not.
He kind of like looks at it again. Like pulls back pulls back by his collar to kind of observe his shoulder.
Yeah. He's sitting on a park bench by the roadside, and it's dark around you. It feels like it's late, and you're underneath a street lamp, in some place you can't recognize. But across the street from you is a very well-lit roadside tin can diner, which has a little painted sign out front that says Goodman's Diner. And there's a little beneath that says "Good eats, good friends, good company."
Huh. Very homey. Mason looks at both sides of the road. Are there any cars coming?
There are no cars coming. Empty stretch of road on either side.
Cool. Mason just kind of hurriedly walks over across the road.
Yeah, walk across the street to the diner. As you approach, you can already smell the tantalizing wafting scent of coffee and bacon, eggs, pie, various diner goods wafting in out of a smoking chimney stack by the side. Get to the front door, you push it open. Very classic diner, like long bars, various stools, booths off to the side. There's this kind of like there's a record player like towards the back behind the bar, but like you can see that the needle is like fully moved towards the center of the thing, like the track has just been run through, so it's just an ambient just as it's just not playing anything because it's reached the end of its song. And you can hear, as you kind of like, you can hear sizzling of some cooking coming from the kitchen behind a pair of doors, and you also hear some like faint like whistling from somebody who seems to be cooking from somewhere back behind the kitchen. There is a couple of little cake stands that have pies in them. A couple of them are missing pieces, so you can like see little cross sections into them. You got some blueberry, rhubarb, cherry, a couple of other nice looking dishes around here. There is a single menu that is lying on the counter in front of a single empty stool, and a little service bell next to that.
Does Mason catch on that he's dreaming?
It's like, it's weird. You're aware that this is not real, that you're dreaming, and it's like, it's both a sense of, this is a dream, I don't remember falling asleep, but also, you feel not exactly put off. It's like this weird kind of placidness that is being forced upon you that makes you not fully question your surroundings, but you are aware that this is seemingly bizarre and not real.
Mason looks at the menu.
Yeah.
What's on the menu?
It is a pretty standard diner menu. There's various, there's sandwiches, there's eggs, there's bacons, there's pies, there's burgers, there's fries, all sorts of fun things. It's a very standard looking American diner affair.
I certainly haven't had food in a while, or maybe I did. I'm not entirely sure at this point. Mason just kind of like rambling to himself, just looking at the menu. Oh, that looks nice. Mason then kind of taps a little bell.
Hey, you tap the bell, the whistling stops immediately, and you hear from behind you, "How can I help you, sir?" Turn around.
Mason turns around.
A tall, handsomely suave gentleman in a cook's apron with a small little diner hat on his head. Wide grin, piercing eyes, his little name tag that says, "Hello, my name is Lester." And he says, "What can I do for you, sir? Welcome to Goodman's Diner."
Hi, do Do you sneak up on everybody that comes inside?
Force of habit.
Lovely. I would. Where are we right now?
Why, sir, you're at Goodman's Diner.
Well, yeah, of course, but where's Goodman's Diner?
Ha! Very funny, sir. You've been where you've always been. Don't you know that?
You know, from a theoretical standpoint, you are absolutely correct. Can I try the biscuits and gravy with my eggs sunny side up?
Biscuits and gravy. Excellent choice, sir. Though, at my personal recommendation, do you mind if I speak frankly?
Sure, absolutely.
Personally, I'd recommend the escabeche. And he points at the menu. And all of the menu entries have been replaced by the word escabeche. Which you would immediately recall is the dinner you had your first night in Peru. Quite tasty. Sweet and sour. Fish from Peru. Very delicious.
Yeah.
A little exotic for some people's taste, but personally, I recommend it.
Mason's chin starts to shake a little bit as his brows kind of furrow a little bit. His eyes kind of flash a little bit to the left and the right, and his hands kind of start to grip each other tightly. Sure, we'll try that. That doesn't sound too bad.
Sure thing, sir. I'll prepare it right away. Can I get you anything to drink while you wait? Water? Coffee?
Yeah, maybe some water. Thank you.
Sure thing, sir. And Lester turns, walks behind the counter, starts to, grabs, a small glass from underneath the counter, goes over and begins to fill it with water, and as, the faucet's pouring water into it, his head just, slowly, turns around just to look at you, just with his unblinking stare and smile, until the glass just starts to, overflow with water and just spill down his hand, spilling down to the floor, just continuing to stare at you with this constant perpetual grin, and it just continues to spill over and over and over, until eventually he just closes the tap shut, sets the very, filled to the brim water glass in front of you and says, "There you go, sir. I'm sorry, I didn't ask if you wanted ice with that."
No, that's okay.
Sure
Thank
thing. Let me get to work on your meal. And he, walks over, goes back behind into the kitchen. He starts whistling again, leaving you alone.
Mason picks up the glass, kind of looks at it for a second. Back out towards the kitchen. Back at the water. And just kind of very slowly sets that cup back down. Not going to take a sip of that or anything. Matter of fact, Mason's going to stand up, and he's going to kind of... Am I able to peek into the kitchen at all?
Yeah, if you want to walk behind the bar and peek into the kitchen? You can't peek into the kitchen from, from where you'll have to, walk over and, look through the door. Yeah, you walk over, you kind of push open the kitchen door, you hear Lester whistling from inside. You kind of push and you take a glance, and you see that Lester is working a stove, and there's a large table in the back of the diner. He turns around and is holding a large meat cleaver, and there is a woman laying down on the counter, and he just, without just grinning and out blinking, just begins to chop her limbs off, just very casual, he's cutting a cut of meat, and he turns his head pops over, looks at you and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You're not allowed to be back here. Cooks only." And he starts to walk towards
you got
with
it.
the knife.
Absolutely not a fucking problem. Get the fuck away from me. And Mason turns the fuck around and he's gone. He's leaving.
You run out and it's "Sir, your meal. Sir, come back. Sir, don't you want a fine home-cooked meal?" You hear
I think I'm good, thanks.
And you just fucking book it into the darkness of the night before everything around you just kind of gets all distorted and hazy, and you find yourself waking up back in the hospital bed, a little sweated through in your shirt. It's a little warm. You can see that there's early morning sunlight creeping through the blinds of your hospital room. You kind of wake up and just you are sweaty, but you are awake.
Oh, fuck. Mason just kind of like looks around, touches his shoulder. Does it sting?
Yes.
Ah, fuck. Okay. And Mason's breathing starts to slow down a little bit. He looks to his right. Is the other fellow sleeping in the bed still?
Yeah, he's still sleeping in the bed, still snoozing. You can hear that there's like a lot of activity and noise coming from outside. A bunch of like, it sounds like a bunch of people conversing, moving through the streets of the town outside. Kind of take a glimpse, and you see a bunch of men in overalls, hard helmets, mining picks slung over their shoulders, all walking in one direction. You gather that this is probably the miners on their way to work. And you kind of just... There's like a peaceful morning quiet after waking up from an unsettling dream like that.
Fuck me. Well, I'm not going the fuck back to sleep. And Mason's gonna head out of that room that he was kind of in before.
Yeah.
To check in on his friends.
Yeah. You walk over. You're not quite sure where they are, but like one of the nurses like walking around. Not any nurses you recognize, and goes, I'm sorry there. Are you lost, sir? Do you need help?
I was brought in last night because of something that I had an accident recently, so I had that all stitched up, and I had some friends here that were staying here on some of the other beds. Do you know where that might be?
Out of town and not with the company?
Yeah, out of town, not with the company.
Are you with the 3 who came in to sleep, or the one who came in around midnight?
I'm with the 3 who came in to sleep.
Sure, let me take you to them. She like walks you over, kind of like looks at the like room and like, you know, creaks the door open. She says, "All right, well, they're still sleeping in there, but if you want to go inside, you're welcome to."
Thank you. And Mason does enter.
Mm-hmm.
He enters. He sees them all sleeping. Like, when will this end? And he sits down on the chair and just kind of hangs tight.
Yeah,
for a little bit.
A few hours pass as the sun kind of eventually the sunrise actually breaks into the sky over the just kind of pale sky that you woke up to, Mason. Everyone else kind of lightly begins to stir after probably around a good 5-ish hours of sleep. You kind of all start. But what really gets you awake is when you hear a knock at your door, and kind of makes all of you kind of wake up, and even you, Mason, who were not asleep, was kind of like lulled out for a minute. The door gets pushed open, and a older, thinner gentleman, kind of wearing like simple linen shirt, got some suspenders on, spectacles on the nose, balding around the top, whiting hair, just kind of with big, thick mustache over his top lip, and goes, "Oh, don't mean to wake any of you up. Just popping my head in here. How we doing? Feeling pretty rested?"
Yeah.
He takes out a clipboard and goes, points at you, Mason. "Are you son? You're the one who came in with the pop sutures, yeah?"
Yeah, that's me.
All right.
Mason.
Well, I heard. Oh, pleasure to meet you, Mason. I heard from Nurse Ann that she'd already taken care of that. But if you don't mind, I'd like to take a look at it myself. My name's fuck. What is his name? Oh my God. Sorry, I got distracted there for a second. Nothing breaks the tension like the GM not checking his notes every so often. Now my name's Dr. Linwood. You can just call me Doc if you please. Take a look here. He like unbuttons your shirt, like looks over and says, "Nice bandage, no additional bleeding." "Well, Mason, you said your name was? Well, I think you're going to be right as rain in no time." So he kind of like rebunches your shirt for you, turns his attention to the 3 lying in the beds. "Now, I understand the 3 of you were just popping in for a rest, coming in out of town, pretty haggard late in the early hours of the morning. Is this correct?"
Yes.
Yes, well, hope you got some rest. Welcome to Madrid. Fortunately, not going to be able to spend the night here again, but once we get you folks out of here, I could potentially point you in the direction of where you might be able to find some respite for the evening, if you plan to be in Madrid any longer. But if otherwise, if you're looking for a nice bite to eat, I'd recommend the Mineshaft Tavern. It's got some good food, and this being a company town, the company encourages moonshine locally, so you are in a little bit of a hot spot, so treat yourself while you're in town. Is there anything else I could do for you?
How much do I owe you for all this?
On the house, don't worry about it, son. It's my understanding you folks came in particularly haggard last night, and frankly speaking, a suturing and asleep in a bed, and it's the base of human kindness that I'm willing to offer you folks, so it is no trouble at all.
Thank you kindly.
You're very welcome. Gotta say, definitely don't get this activity this late as often. I mean, first that, gentleman comes wandering in late at night all feverish before I take off for home, and then you folks wander in 4 hours later. Pretty nifty. Small world. There's a gentleman who... Yeah, I work these hours pretty late just to care to some of the minor folk, and around midnight before I called it in and went to bed, gentleman wandered in out of the desert, cold, haggard, little fever starved, you know what I'm saying? Came in, we gave him a bed, treated him, trying to hydrate and keep him in good spirits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mason... No, oh, go ahead.
Could we get the name? Sorry, this may seem
We're missing a friend of ours.
missing a friend of ours. So.
Well, Nurse Ann says you came in on a truck, yeah?
Yes.
We hitched a ride into town, yes.
Yes.
Right. Well, I suppose if you're missing a friend, I might be willing to disclose. Here's, Nurse! He calls out the doorway. Bring me the paperwork on that, fella who wandered in last night. Alright, so just take a moment. Moment later, Nurse comes in, hands him a clipboard. He goes, gentleman by the name of... Looks at you kind of expectantly. How about we say it together? Yeah?
James O'Connell.
He says it in turn with you. James O'Connell, that's correct. One Mr... Yeah. He was stark raving mad, but we were able to get a name from him. That's for sure. I managed to get that. Bumbling an awful lot about something about... civil... Something about civil or some kind of kit he was missing.
He's Sybil, and I'm Kit.
Oh,
Thank goodness, he remembers my name.
well, that makes sense then. All right. Well, yes, your friend then is safe and all right. He's just sleeping in the next room over. Came in a little worse for wear, but, you know, from what I understand, before I headed home, we gave him a good amount of treatment, but he's here. Small world.
That's good to know.
Was it just the one?
To my understanding, he's the only other person who wandered in late that night.
Okay. Well, thank you, Doctor.
Welcome. You're welcome. I got to get back to some of my duties around here. Likewise. I got to get back to some of my duties, but I will be, if you ever find yourself in need while you're here in Madrid, just give me a ring. And, well, have a pleasant day. And Doc Linwood steps out.
Thank you. Mason, noticing that the dog buttoned up his shirt all the way, proceeds to button down the first 2 buttons, kind of popping them out a little bit.
Excellent.
That's better.
You still look very nice, bandages and all.
Oh, thank you.
By the way, Mason, you are back up 1 hit point.
Oh, fuck yeah! That shows that bullet.
Which means
shows him who's boss.
Which means your gunshot was not a major wound, so it will heal 1 hit point per day.
Thank God. Oh fuck. Okay. We should probably go talk to James. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go check.
Yeah. The 4 of you get up from the hospital bed and make your way to James's room to confer with him, and we'll end there for this week.
Woo!
Interesting series of events that have transpired. So we will see what may be the cause of the investigators missing time next week. Or maybe we won't. Who knows? But maybe, just maybe, we'll see some more of our good friend Lester. Until next time, bye-bye. Oh, of course.
Bye.
Don't,
Bye-bye.
where's my manners? My manners. And of course, Cthulhu Fatagan.
Manners.